in reading, or for our Read Aloud, we've been reading The Absent Author. And I don't know about you, but since we read yesterday, some of the details are getting kind of confusing for me. I don't know about you. So I have been taking notes as I read to kind of help my mind not get confused of all those details, because this is kind of a long book and it's definitely confusing a little bit. So the question we'll be exploring today is this: when a reader writes skillfully to think more about reading, what would that writing look like? So I asked 3 other teachers here at Spring Mill to read the first 6 chapters and to stop at chapter 7, just like we did in The Absent Author, to show us some notes, because I think my note-taking skills could be a lot better. So I asked Miss Music in 5th grade. I asked Miss Urbanski in 2nd grade, and I asked Mrs. Rockarenu in 3rd grade if they could go ahead and read chapters 1 through 6 in our book, and then write down some notes for us to look at and kind of compare. All right, does that sound good? All right, so let's go ahead and I will pull up their notes, okay? So sharing my screen. Okay. So how can readers strengthen their writing about reading or strengthen their note-taking? So let me go ahead and show you Miss Music's notes from yesterday. I took a picture and then just put it on this slideshow. All right, so this is what Miss Music's notes looked like. So she, so before I read you the notes, let me read you this. Let me go back. So let me read you this passage from chapter 6 to kind of refresh our memories. And then we'll look at the notes, okay? All right, so he told us, you cleaned the rooms on the 3rd floor this morning, Dink said. You clean room 303? Livy Nugent shifted the baby to her other arm. Randy, please stop pulling on Mommy's leg. Why don't you go finish your lunch? Randy ran back into the apartment. No, Livy told Dink, nobody slept in that room. The bed was still made this morning. The towels were still clean and dry. I remember because there were 2 rooms in a row that I didn't have to clean. Room 303 and 302. Room 302 had a do not disturb sign hanging on the doorknob. So I came home early, paid off the babysitter, and made our lunches. But Mr. Linkletter told us Wallace checked into room 303 last night, Ruth Rose said. All right, so now we'll look at Miss Music's notes, okay? So let me pull that back up now that we've refreshed our memory. All right, so Miss Music bubbled room 302 and 303. All right, and so strange rooms. Mr. Linkletter handles the rooms, and then she pointed to an arrow. I think he did the crime. And then rooms side by side. So she had the details of those 2 rooms. And then her suspect is Mr. Linkletter. All right, does anyone have any questions about Miss Music's notes? Does everyone kind of see the thinking behind these notes? All right, let's move on to this note. So this is Mrs. Rockarenu's notes, and so she made a suspect list. All right, so she had suspect and clues. She made a T-chart, kind of like you guys did in writing yesterday. So she has Mr. Paskey, and she put the page number, page 13, Sweaty at Book Nook, and page 25, has Wallace's itinerary. Her second suspect is Maureen, and her clues to why Maureen's the suspect is on page 37. Man in a car had sunglasses and didn't talk. Page 39, last person to see Wallace Wallace drove him from airport to hotel. And then her third suspect is Livy. So she wrote down on page 52, knows all the details about the rooms. And page 53 says, Mr. Linkletter never forgets. All right, out of the two of those, which one is more detailed? Out of the two notes we've looked at so far, which one is more detailed? Heavenly?
The second one?
Yeah, Mrs. Rockaranian, so the second one is a little bit more detailed. And I don't know about you guys, but the suspect list is definitely confusing for me, so this definitely helps me see who the suspect is and kind of narrows down why I think those suspects are a suspect. All right, and then let's look at the final one. Let's look at Miss Urbanski's. All right, so she wrote a timeline from chapter to chapter and just kind of wrote the main point or what happens in each chapter. So chapter 1, Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose go to the Book Nook to get Wallace Wallace to sign books. In chapter 2, Wallace Wallace doesn't show up. Mr. Paskey is nervous. Wallace Wallace was kidnapped. Dink, Josh, and Ruth Rose meet Mavis Green. She has a suspicious letter from Wallace Wallace too. In chapter 4, they start investigating by questioning the taxi driver, who's Maureen. In chapter 5, the kids go to the hotel. They meet Mr. Linkletter and see strange signatures. And then chapter 6 says the kids go to question Livy. She never cleaned room 302 or 303. All right, so those are our 3 examples of notes. Okay. So I think that this helps me sing these 3 different kinds of note-taking to help my understanding of the book and to help me make sure that I am keeping all the details straight. So definitely while I'm taking notes while I read, I am going to try and to incorporate some of the strategies that the other adults used. All right. All right, so let's go back over the list of ways to strengthen writing about reading, and then I'll show you your independent work, okay? All right, so you can make a quick list of suspects, just like Mrs. Rockarani did. Okay, you can jot a timeline of important events, just like Mr. Urbanski did. Sketch a map and mark where the suspect goes. And then list page numbers of where there are good clues. So just kind of like what Mrs. Rockarani did. So if you know how yesterday in your writing you talked about mystery reading being tricky. If not, you need to go back and do writing from yesterday. Okay, so these can be some of the strategies you could use if your mystery reading is tricky. All right.